You know what they say about perfect marriages? They're like unicorns, beautiful in theory, but when you actually find one, it's probably fake as hell and someone's trying to sell you something. My name is John Carter, and I'm living proof that even tech CEOs can be complete idiots when it comes to reading the room. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. It was a Tuesday morning in Seattle, the kind where the rain makes everything look like a noir film, and I was sitting in my corner office at Carter Digital Solutions, watching my business partner Jake Rivers charm our latest client through the glass wall. Jake had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room, a skill I'd always admired and never possessed. My phone buzzed, a text from my wife Samantha. Working late again tonight. Charity auction planning with Tanya, don't wait up. I stared at the message, that familiar knot forming in my stomach. Samantha had been working late a lot lately. 3 nights last week, 4 the week before. But hey, she was passionate about her charity work, right? That's what good wives do. They throw themselves into meaningful causes while their husbands build tech empires. John, you look like someone just told you your stock options expired. Jake's voice cut through my brooding. He'd finished with the client and was now leaning against my doorframe, all 6'2" of perfectly groomed confidence. Just thinking about the anniversary party next week, I lied smoothly. Samantha's been stressed about the planning. Jake's smile flickered, just for a microsecond, but I caught it. She's amazing at events, really knows how to bring people together. Something in his tone made my skin crawl, but I couldn't put my finger on why. Maybe it was the way he said, bring people together, like he had personal experience with Samantha's people-bringing skills. That evening, I came home to our Bellevue mansion, all glass and steel and perfect angles, just like Samantha had wanted. She was in the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing animatedly. "No, Tanya, he has no idea," she was saying, her voice carrying that conspiratorial whisper women use when they're sharing secrets. "I mean, he's brilliant with computers, but he's completely clueless about everything else." I froze in the hallway, my briefcase suddenly feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "The whole thing is almost too easy," Samantha continued. "He trusts everyone completely. It's actually kind of sad." My wife, my beautiful, perfect wife, was talking about me like I was some kind of pathetic charity case. I backed out of the kitchen quietly, my mind racing. What whole thing? What was almost too easy? I spent the next hour pretending to work in my home office while actually trying to process what I'd heard. Samantha eventually knocked on my door, bringing me coffee with that radiant smile that had made me fall in love with her 12 years ago. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, perching on the edge of my desk like she used to when we were dating. "Fine," I managed. "How was the charity planning?" "Oh, you know how it is. Lots of details to coordinate." She leaned down and kissed my forehead. "I'm exhausted. I think I'll turn in early." After she left, I sat staring at my computer screen, not seeing the quarterly reports displayed there. Instead, I was seeing my wife's face as she lied to me with practiced ease. The coffee she'd brought me had grown cold, but I couldn't bring myself to drink it anyway. My phone rang. Jake. "Hey partner, just wanted to confirm tomorrow's board meeting. We're still presenting the merger proposal, right?" "Right," I said automatically. "Jake, can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "Do you think I'm clueless?" He laughed, but it sounded forced. "What kind of question is that? You built a $50 million company from nothing. You're the opposite of clueless." "But about people, about reading situations." There was a pause. "John, is everything okay? You sound weird." "I'm fine. Just tired. I'll see you tomorrow." After I hung up, I realized something that should have been obvious. Jake had never actually answered my question. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Samantha's voice saying, "He has no idea," with that mixture of pity and contempt. By morning, I'd made a decision that would change everything. I was going to find out exactly what my wife thought I was too clueless to understand. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 15 years of marriage. I went through Samantha's things. Not her underwear drawer or her purse, I'm not a complete creep, but her iPad, which she'd left charging on the kitchen counter. I knew her passcode. It was Maya's birthday, our 11-year-old daughter. The irony wasn't lost on me that she was using our child's birthday to lock away her secrets. What I found made my coffee taste like ash. Text thread with Tanya Morrison, Samantha's best friend since college. Samantha. He's working late again. Perfect timing for tomorrow night. Tanya. You're playing with fire, Sam. What if he finds out? Samantha. Please. John couldn't find a clue if it was gift-wrapped and sitting on his desk. Besides, after next week, it won't matter anyway. Tanya. I still can't believe you're going through with this. Jake better be worth it. Jake. My business partner, Jake. I scrolled up, my hands shaking slightly. The conversation went back months, photos of expensive dinners I hadn't taken her to, references to our place and when this is all over, and then the kicker. Samantha. The merger documents are perfect. John's signature looks exactly right. Jake. You're amazing at this. He'll never know what hit him. Samantha. By the time he figures it out, we'll own everything. The company, the house, the kids. He'll be lucky if he can afford a studio apartment in Tacoma. I set the iPad down carefully, afraid I might throw it through the window if I held it any longer. My wife wasn't just cheating on me, she was planning to steal my company, our company, everything I'd built. But here's the thing about being a tech CEO. You don't get to the top by panicking. You get there by thinking 3 moves ahead of everyone else. And right now, Samantha and Jake thought they were playing chess while I was still figuring out checkers. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I called my old college roommate Brian Walsh, who now ran a cybersecurity firm in downtown Seattle. If anyone could help me figure out the scope of this betrayal, it was Brian. John Carter, you magnificent bastard, Brian answered on the first ring. Please tell me you're calling because you need my services and not because you want to reminisce about our glory days. I need your services, I said, and I need you to keep this completely confidential. Ooh, intrigue. I like it already. What's the job? I think my wife and business partner are trying to steal my company. Brian whistled low. That's some serious soap opera drama. You want me to dig into their digital footprints? Everything. Emails, texts, financial records, location data. I need to know exactly what they're planning and when. This is going to cost you. Brian, if I'm right about this, money's going to be the least of my problems. Fair enough. Give me 48 hours. While Brian worked his magic, I had to act normal. I went to the office, attended meetings, smiled at Jake's jokes, and pretended I didn't want to strangle him with his expensive tie. The hardest part was the board meeting, where Jake presented our merger proposal with Hartwell Industries, a deal that would essentially consolidate all company assets under new management. This is brilliant work, Jake, said board member Patricia Hendricks. The financial projections are incredibly detailed. Jake beamed. John and I have been working on this for months. It's going to secure our future for the next decade. I nodded and smiled, playing my part perfectly. Inside, I was cataloging every lie, every manipulation, every moment of betrayal. They thought I was clueless? Fine. Let them think that. Underestimating your opponent is the first mistake in any war. That evening, Samantha was getting ready for another charity meeting. She stood in front of our bedroom mirror, applying makeup with the kind of care usually reserved for first dates. You look beautiful, I said, and meant it. Even knowing what I knew, she was still stunning. Thank you, honey. She kissed my cheek, careful not to smudge her lipstick. Don't wait up. These planning sessions can go pretty late. I'm sure they can. After she left, I sat in my home office and waited for Brian's call. It came at exactly 10 p.m. John, buddy, you're not going to like what I found. Hit me. Your wife and Jake have been planning this for 8 months. They've got forged documents, fake financial records, and a paper trail that makes it look like you've been embezzling company funds. My blood ran cold. Embezzling? They're setting you up to take the fall for missing money that they've been siphoning off through shell companies. The merger with Hartwell? It's designed to trigger an audit that will discover your supposed theft. You'll be arrested, probably prosecuted, and while you're dealing with that, they'll take control of everything. The kids. Samantha's already consulted with a divorce attorney. She's planning to file for full custody, claiming you're mentally unstable due to the stress of your criminal activities. I closed my eyes, feeling the full weight of their betrayal settle on my shoulders. They weren't just stealing my company. They were stealing my entire life. There's more, Brian continued. They've been meeting at a condo downtown. Jake bought it 6 months ago under an LLC. I've got photos, financial records, the whole 9 yards. Send me everything. John, what are you going to do? I looked out my office window at the Seattle skyline. All those lights representing dreams and ambitions and people fighting for their piece of the American dream. I'm going to remind them why you should never bet against the underdog. Brian's files arrived in my encrypted email at midnight. Photos of Samantha and Jake entering the downtown condo. Bank records showing systematic theft from company accounts. Forged documents with my signature authorizing transfers I'd never approved. They'd been thorough. I had to give them credit for that. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd assumed I was too trusting to ever look for betrayal. In the tech world, paranoia isn't a character flaw. It's a survival skill. I spent the next 3 days building my counter-strategy. First, I needed allies. Second, I needed evidence that would hold up in court. Third, I needed to hit them where it would hurt the most, their reputations. My first call was to Angela Wu, CEO of Meridian Tech, our biggest competitor. Angela was brilliant, ruthless, and had been trying to poach our top talent for years. If anyone would appreciate the opportunity to destroy Jake Rivers, it would be her. John Carter, she said when her assistant put me through. To what do I owe this unexpected pleasure? I have information you might find interesting about Jake Rivers. I'm listening. He's been embezzling from Carter Digital and planning to frame me for it. I have proof. There was a pause. Why are you telling me this? Because when this goes public, Jake's going to be looking for a new job. I want to make sure he doesn't find one. Angela's laugh was sharp as broken glass. I like your style, Carter. What do you need from me? A paper trail. I want every company in Seattle to know exactly what kind of person Jake Rivers is. Consider it done. Send me what you have. Next, I called Detective Maria Santos, who'd handled a corporate fraud case for us 2 years earlier. Maria was smart, thorough, and had no patience for white-collar criminals who thought they were smarter than everyone else. John, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? I need to report a crime in progress. I'm listening. I laid out everything. The affair, the embezzlement, the forged documents. Maria listened without interrupting, asking sharp questions that told me she was already building a case in her mind. This is serious stuff, John. If you're right, we're talking about fraud, forgery, and conspiracy charges. I have evidence, lots of it. Bring it in tomorrow morning. And John, be careful. Desperate people do stupid things. That evening, I implemented phase 1 of my plan. While Samantha was at another charity meeting, I used my admin access to the company's security system to download every email Jake had sent or received in the past year. What I found was a masterclass in corporate betrayal. Jake had been in contact with Hartwell Industries for months, negotiating a deal that would essentially gut Carter Digital and leave him in charge of the remains. He'd also been feeding our proprietary information to competitors, selling out our clients, and systematically undermining every project I'd initiated. But the emails with Samantha were the real treasure trove. They'd been planning this from the beginning. The affair was just a bonus. Jake wanted my company, and Samantha wanted my money. Together, they'd figured out how to get both. Jake to Samantha. The forged authorization forms are perfect. Your husband's signature is spot on. Samantha to Jake. I've been practicing for months. The key is getting the pressure right on the downstrokes. Jake to Samantha. Once the audit triggers, he'll be so busy dealing with criminal charges that he won't have time to fight the divorce. Samantha to Jake. The kids will be devastated, but they'll get over it. Children are resilient. Reading that last line, something cold and hard settled in my chest. They were willing to destroy our children's lives for money. That's when I stopped feeling guilty about what I was planning to do to them. The next morning, I met with Detective Santos and handed over everything. She reviewed the files with the methodical precision of someone who'd seen every variation of human greed. This is solid, she said finally. We can move on this whenever you're ready. I want to wait until after the board meeting tomorrow. Let them think they've won. Why? Because I want them to confess on the record, and I want witnesses. Detective Santos smiled. You're thinking like a prosecutor, John. I like it. That afternoon, Jake knocked on my office door, carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing his most sincere expression. Thought you could use some caffeine, he said, settling into the chair across from my desk. You've seemed stressed lately. Just thinking about tomorrow's presentation, I said, accepting the coffee. Big day. The biggest. This merger is going to change everything for us. I'm sure it will. Jake leaned forward, his expression earnest. John, I want you to know how much I appreciate everything you've done for me. Bringing me in as a partner, trusting me with major decisions, it means everything. I looked at this man I'd considered my best friend, this person I'd trusted with my business and welcomed into my family, and felt nothing but contempt. We're partners, Jake. We look out for each other. Exactly. He stood up, extending his hand. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that I've got your back. I shook his hand, squeezing just a little too hard. I'm counting on it. After he left, I poured his coffee down the sink. I wasn't taking any chances. That evening, Samantha was unusually affectionate, curling up next to me on the couch while we watched Netflix with the kids. Maya, our 11-year-old, was doing homework on the floor while 8-year-old Lucas built an elaborate Lego fortress. Daddy, are you okay? Maya asked suddenly. You seem sad. I'm fine, sweetheart, just thinking about work. Is someone being mean to you at work? Lucas looked up from his Legos, his face serious. Because I can beat them up. I know karate. Samantha laughed. Lucas, you took 1 karate class. That's enough to defeat the bad guys, he said solemnly. I ruffled his hair, my heart breaking a little. Tomorrow, their world was going to change forever, and there was nothing I could do to protect them from that. Thanks, buddy. I'll keep that in mind. Later, after the kids were in bed, Samantha and I sat in our bedroom. She was brushing her hair, humming softly, completely at peace with herself. Samantha, I said quietly, do you love me? She turned, surprised by the question. Of course I do. Why would you ask that? Just wondering. She came over and kissed me, her lips soft and familiar. I love you, John. You're my husband, the father of my children. Nothing will ever change that. I nodded, memorizing her face. Tomorrow, she'd learn the difference between love and possession. Tomorrow, they'd both learn that underestimating John Carter was the biggest mistake of their lives. The morning of the board meeting, I woke up at 5 a.m. and went for a run through our neighborhood. The streets were empty, the air crisp with that particular Seattle dampness that gets into your bones. I needed to clear my head, to prepare for what was coming. When I got back, Samantha was making breakfast, humming the same tune from the night before. She looked beautiful in her silk robe, her hair catching the morning light streaming through our kitchen windows. "You're up early," she said, not looking up from the stove. "Couldn't sleep. Big day." "The merger presentation?" "Among other things." She turned then, studying my face. "John, are you sure you're okay? You've been acting strange lately." "Define strange." "Distant, like you're thinking about something else all the time." I poured myself coffee, buying time to craft my response. "Just focused on the future, making sure I'm prepared for whatever comes next." "The future is going to be wonderful," she said, coming over to straighten my tie. "This merger will secure everything for our family." "I'm sure it will." At the office, I arrived early and spent an hour reviewing my presentation one last time. But this wasn't the presentation Jake was expecting. While he'd been planning to spring his trap, I'd been preparing to spring mine. Brian arrived at 8:30, carrying a laptop bag and wearing an uncharacteristic suit. "You clean up nice," I told him. "Don't get used to it. This monkey suit is rented." He patted his laptop bag. "I've got everything loaded and ready to go. You sure about this?" "Too late to back out now." "John, what if I'm wrong? What if there's some innocent explanation for all this?" I showed him the text I'd received from Samantha that morning. "Good luck with your presentation, honey. I know you'll do great. Everything's going to change today." "She's not wrong about that last part," Brian said grimly. The boardroom filled up by 9 a.m. Our 5 board members, Patricia Hendricks, Robert Chang, Diana Foster, Michael Torres, and Sarah Kim, all successful business people who'd invested in Carter Digital because they believed in the vision Jake and I had sold them. Jake arrived precisely at 9, looking confident and relaxed. He nodded to me, gave the board his trademark charming smile, and took his seat. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, "thank you for being here today. As you know, Jake and I have been working on a significant merger proposal with Hartwell Industries. However, before we discuss that, I need to address some concerns that have come to my attention." Jake's smile faltered slightly. "John, maybe we should stick to the agenda." "This is the agenda, Jake." I nodded to Brian, who connected his laptop to the boardroom's projection system. "Over the past week, I've discovered that someone has been systematically embezzling funds from Carter Digital. Someone with access to company accounts, signature authority, and intimate knowledge of our financial systems." The board members exchanged concerned glances. Patricia leaned forward. "John, this is a serious accusation. Do you have evidence?" "I do." The first document appeared on the screen, a bank transfer authorization bearing my forged signature. "This transfer of $50,000 to a shell company called Meridian Holdings was supposedly authorized by me. However, I was in San Francisco that day, meeting with clients. The signature is a forgery." Jake's face had gone pale. "John, what are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything, Jake. I'm stating facts." The next slide showed a photo of Jake entering a downtown bank. "This is you, making a cash withdrawal from the Meridian Holdings account 3 hours after the transfer was completed." "There has to be an explanation," Jake started. "There is. You've been stealing from this company for 8 months. More documents flashed on the screen. Bank records, email exchanges, financial transfers. "You've embezzled over $400,000 while simultaneously planning to frame me for your crimes." Robert Chang, our most experienced board member, was studying the documents intently. "Jake, these are serious allegations. How do you respond?" Jake stood up, his composure cracking. "This is insane. John, you're having some kind of breakdown. The stress of running the company." "Sit down, Jake." My voice carried an authority I didn't know I possessed. "We're not finished." The next slide showed email exchanges between Jake and Hartwell Industries. Not the sanitized versions he'd shared with the board, but the real communications discussing how to eliminate Carter from the equation and restructure the company under new leadership. Diana Foster gasped. You were planning a hostile takeover? It gets better, I said. The screen now showed Jake's emails with various competitors, selling our client lists and proprietary technology. Jake has been systematically betraying this company's interests for months. Jake was breathing hard now, sweat beading on his forehead. You can't prove any of this. These could be fabricated by a cybersecurity expert with 15 years of experience in digital forensics? Brian spoke for the first time, his voice calm and professional. Every document has been verified for authenticity. The metadata is clean, the timestamps are consistent, and I can provide a complete chain of custody for all evidence. Michael Torres, who'd been silent until now, fixed Jake with a cold stare. Jake, did you or did you not forge John's signature on these documents? This is all circumstantial. It's a simple question, Patricia said. Yes or no? Jake looked around the room, seeing no allies, no escape route. You don't understand. John was going to run this company into the ground. He's too conservative, too scared to take risks. I was trying to save it. By stealing from it? Sarah Kim's voice was ice cold. By positioning it for growth, the Hartwell merger would have made us all rich. While framing John for embezzlement, Robert added. Jake's composure finally snapped completely. John's an idiot. He built this company by accident and has no idea how to run it. I've been carrying him for years. The room fell silent. I let the words hang in the air for a moment before speaking. Thank you for that confession, Jake. It's being recorded, by the way. Jake's face went white. What? This entire meeting is being recorded and live-streamed to the Seattle Police Department. Detective Maria Santos is watching right now, along with representatives from the district attorney's office. Jake lunged toward me, but Brian was faster, stepping between us. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Assault charges on top of embezzlement and fraud? That's a lot of jail time. Patricia stood up. Jake Rivers, you're terminated immediately. Security will escort you from the building. The board will be filing criminal charges and pursuing civil remediation for all stolen funds. Jake looked around the room one more time, his face a mask of rage and desperation. This isn't over, John. You have no idea what you've done. Actually, I know exactly what I've done. I've protected my company from a thief and a traitor. Security arrived. I'd arranged for them to be waiting outside and escorted Jake from the building. As the door closed behind him, I felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. This man had been my friend, my partner, someone I'd trusted completely. But the day wasn't over. Jake was just half of the problem. After the board meeting, I drove home with a strange mixture of exhaustion and anticipation. Jake was finished, his reputation destroyed, criminal charges pending, his career in Seattle tech permanently over. But Samantha was still out there, still playing her part in their elaborate deception. I found her in our living room, pacing and talking rapidly on her phone. What do you mean he knows? How could he possibly? She saw me and quickly ended the call. John, how did the presentation go? Interesting question. Jake didn't call you? Her smile wavered. Why would Jake call me? Because he was just arrested for embezzling from my company. The color drained from her face. Arrested? John, that's terrible. Poor Jake. Poor Jake? Samantha, he stole $400,000 and tried to frame me for it. That's impossible. Jake would never what? Betray his best friend? Forge documents? Plan a hostile takeover? I sat down on our couch, studying her face. Or are you more upset about the other thing? What other thing? The affair. The word hung between us like a loaded gun. Samantha's carefully constructed mask finally slipped, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and played a recording, one of many Brian had recovered from Jake's deleted files. Jake's voice filled the room. God, Sam, you're incredible. I can't wait until we don't have to sneak around anymore. Samantha's voice responded. Soon, baby. After tomorrow, John will be too busy fighting criminal charges to interfere with anything we want to do. I stopped the recording. Anything else you'd like to deny? Samantha stared at me for a long moment, and I watched her make a decision. The loving wife mask disappeared completely, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Fine. Yes, I've been sleeping with Jake. Yes, we plan to take your company. And you know what, John? You deserved it. I deserved it? You're boring. You're predictable. You work 16-hour days and come home talking about servers and quarterly projections. When's the last time you surprised me? When's the last time you made me feel alive? So you decided to steal everything I'd built? I decided to build something better. Jake has vision, passion, ambition. He was going to make us rich beyond our wildest dreams. By framing me for crimes I didn't commit? She shrugged. You would have been fine. White-collar criminals barely serve any real time, and you're too smart to stay down for long. We were doing you a favor, really, forcing you to start over, to find some actual ambition. I stared at this woman I'd been married to for 12 years, mother of my children, and realized I'd never really known her at all. What about Maya and Lucas? What about them? They'll adjust. Children are resilient. You were going to let them think their father was a criminal. Their father was going to be a criminal, technically. We just sped up the timeline. The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. Samantha, these are our children. They're my children too, John, and I was going to give them a better life than you ever could. By destroying their family? By upgrading their family. Jake loves kids. He would have been a great stepfather. I stood up, needing to move, needing to do something with the rage building in my chest. Where are Maya and Lucas now? At my mother's. I thought it would be better if they weren't here for this conversation. This conversation? She reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Divorce papers. I'm filing for full custody, citing your recent criminal activity and mental instability. I opened the envelope. The papers were professionally prepared, dated 3 days earlier. She'd been planning this conversation before Jake was even arrested. You're claiming I'm mentally unstable, aren't you? You've been acting paranoid and erratic for weeks, accusing your business partner of crimes, making wild accusations about your loving wife. I'm concerned for the children's safety. Their safety? Who knows what you might do when the pressure really builds? When you're facing prison time and financial ruin? I can't take that risk with Maya and Lucas. I looked at the woman I'd loved for over a decade and felt something die inside me. Not love, that had been dying for weeks, but hope. Hope that there was some explanation, some way to salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage. Sign the papers, John. Make this easy on everyone. No. No? I'm not signing anything, and I'm not letting you take my children. Her expression hardened. You don't have a choice. Jake might have screwed up his part, but I'm still going to get mine. This house, the savings accounts, the investment portfolio, I'm entitled to half of everything. And the kids are going to be better off with me. Based on what? Based on the fact that I'm not facing criminal charges. I smiled then, and something in my expression made her take a step back. Actually, Samantha, you are. What are you talking about? Conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, accessory to embezzlement. The police have recordings of you discussing forged documents, planning to frame me, and conspiring to steal company assets. That's impossible. Jake kept everything, every email, every text, every recorded phone call. He was paranoid about having leverage over you, so he documented your entire relationship. Her face went white. You're lying. Detective Santos will be here in about 10 minutes with a warrant for your arrest. I'd suggest you call a lawyer. Samantha stared at me, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely afraid. John, we can work this out. The affair was a mistake, But we can get past it. We have children together. A life. We had a life. You destroyed it. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices over months to betray me and our family. She was crying now, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of rage and frustration. You can't do this to me. I'm the mother of your children. You're also a criminal. The doorbell rang. Through our front window, I could see Detective Santos and 2 uniformed officers. Last chance, Samantha. Tell me where Maya and Lucas really are. They're at my mother's. I told you. Your mother is in Florida visiting your sister. I called her this morning. Samantha's face crumpled. They're safe. They're with Tanya. I thought it would be better if they weren't here when you were arrested. When I was arrested? Jake was supposed to trigger the audit today. You were supposed to be in handcuffs by now. I opened the front door. Detective Santos nodded to me. Mr. Carter, is she here? Living room. Samantha tried to run. She actually tried to run, which would have been pathetic if it hadn't involved my children's safety. The officers caught her before she reached the back door. Samantha Carter, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. As they read her rights, Samantha looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over, John. I'll fight this. I'll fight you. You'll never see those children again. Actually, Detective Santos said, given the charges you're facing and the evidence against you, I'd say Mr. Carter has a pretty strong case for full custody. They led her away in handcuffs. My wife of 12 years, mother of my children, the woman I'd planned to grow old with. I stood in my empty house and realized that the hardest part was still ahead. Explaining to Maya and Lucas why their mother wasn't coming home. Tanya Morrison lived in a downtown Seattle condo that probably cost more than most people's houses. When I rang her doorbell at 8 p.m., I could hear children's voices inside, Maya and Lucas, arguing about something in that way siblings do when they're stressed and don't understand why. Tanya answered the door looking like she'd aged 10 years since morning. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared. John, I suppose you've come for the kids. I've come for my children, yes. She stepped aside to let me in. Maya and Lucas were in the living room, still in their school clothes, looking confused and frightened. Daddy! Lucas ran to me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Aunt Tanya said Mommy had to go away for work, but she's been crying all day. Maya, older and more perceptive, studied my face carefully. Dad, what's really going on? I knelt down so I was at their eye level. Kids, your mom made some bad choices. She's in trouble with the police and she's going to have to go away for a while. Like jail? Maya's voice was small. Yes, sweetheart. Like jail. Lucas's face crumpled. But Mommy didn't do anything bad. Mommy helps with charities. I know this is confusing and scary. We'll talk more at home, okay? Right now, I just want to get you both somewhere safe. Tanya cleared her throat. John, for what it's worth, I tried to talk her out of it. The whole thing was insane. But you helped her anyway. She's my best friend. Was my best friend. Tanya wiped her eyes. I never thought it would go this far. I thought it was just an affair, you know? A midlife crisis thing. It was conspiracy to commit fraud, Tanya. She was planning to destroy my life and take my children. I know that now. She looked at Maya and Lucas, who were gathering their backpacks. Those kids don't deserve this. No, they don't. The drive home was quiet. Lucas fell asleep in his car seat, exhausted by a day he was too young to understand. Maya stared out the window, processing everything with the serious intelligence that sometimes made her seem older than 11. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart? Is Uncle Jake in trouble too? Yes. Because of the company? Because he stole money and lied about it. And Mommy helped him? I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Yes. I heard her on the phone sometimes. She said mean things about you. My heart broke a little more. I'm sorry you heard that. Are you going to be okay? Running the company by yourself? I'm going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. Promise? I promise. At home, I got Lucas into his pajamas and tucked him into bed. He was still too young to fully grasp what was happening, which was probably a mercy. Daddy, when is Mommy coming home? I don't know, buddy. It might be a long time. Did she stop loving us? No, Lucas. Mommy loves you very much. She just made some very bad choices. Like when I broke Maya's toy and lied about it? Like that, but much bigger. He nodded solemnly. Will you stay with us? Forever and always. Maya was harder. She sat on her bed, still fully dressed, staring at her hands. I knew something was wrong, she said quietly. Mommy was different. She was always on her phone, always going out, and she was mean to you. Maya, none of this is your fault. I know, but I should have told you. You were trying to protect the family. That's not your job, sweetheart. That's mine. Did you know? About Uncle Jake and Mommy? I sat down next to her on the bed. I found out recently. Are you sad? I'm heartbroken. But not because of the company or the money. Because our family is broken and I can't fix it. She leaned against me, and I put my arm around her. We're not broken, Dad. We're just smaller now. Over the next few weeks, life settled into a new rhythm. Jake pled guilty to embezzlement and fraud charges, accepting a plea deal that would send him to federal prison for 3 years. His assets were frozen, his reputation destroyed, his career over. Samantha fought the charges, hiring an expensive lawyer with money from her parents. But the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the forged documents, the financial records, it all painted a picture of calculated betrayal that no jury would ignore. The hardest part was helping Maya and Lucas understand why their mother had made the choices she'd made. Child psychologists talk about age-appropriate explanations, but how do you explain to an 8-year-old that his mother valued money more than his happiness? I threw myself into rebuilding Carter Digital. With Jake gone and the embezzled funds recovered, the company was actually stronger than before. The board, impressed by how I'd handled the crisis, gave me complete autonomy to restructure as I saw fit. Angela Wu, who'd helped spread the word about Jake's crimes throughout the Seattle tech community, became an unexpected ally. We started collaborating on projects, sharing resources, building something bigger than either of our companies could achieve alone. You know, she said during one of our planning meetings, I always thought you were too nice for this business. I was. I'm not anymore. Good. Nice guys finish last. Smart guys who know when to stop being nice, they change the world. 3 months after Samantha's arrest, she accepted a plea deal. 2 years in federal prison, full restitution of stolen funds, and supervised visitation with the children upon release. Her lawyer had wanted to fight for joint custody, but the evidence was too damaging. I didn't attend her sentencing. Maya and Lucas didn't need to see their mother in handcuffs again. That evening, I cooked dinner for my kids, spaghetti and meatballs, Lucas's favorite. We ate at our kitchen table, the same table where Samantha used to plan charity events and secret betrayals. Dad, Maya said, twirling pasta around her fork, are you going to get married again? I don't know. Maybe someday. Would that bother you? Only if she's mean to us. I would never marry anyone who was mean to you. Lucas looked up from his plate, sauce on his chin. Can we get a dog instead? I laughed, the first real laugh I'd had in months. Maybe we can do both. A wife and a dog? Maya grinned. That seems like a lot of work. Everything worthwhile is a lot of work. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I stood in my home office looking out at the Seattle skyline. The city lights stretched out like a circuit board, all those connections and possibilities. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but this isn't over. S. I stared at the message for a moment, then deleted it. Samantha was in federal prison, Jake was facing 3 years behind bars, and I had full custody of my children. Carter Digital was thriving, my reputation was intact, and I'd learned the difference between being trusting and being naive. I thought about texting back, about engaging in whatever game she was trying to play. But then I heard Lucas laughing in his sleep down the hall, and I realized something important. It was over. Not because the bad guys had been punished or justice had been served, but because I'd chosen to let it be over. I'd chosen to focus on building something new instead of dwelling on what had been destroyed. I turned off my phone and went to check on my kids. Maya was curled up with a book she'd fallen asleep reading. Lucas had somehow managed to get completely tangled in his sheets. I straightened his blankets and kissed both their foreheads. Tomorrow, I'd take them to school, go to work, build my company, and continue the process of healing our family. Jake and Samantha had bet that I was too weak, too trusting, too naive to fight back when they tried to destroy me. They'd learned the hard way that underestimating John Carter was the biggest mistake of their lives.